Hi to everyone. People are still coming. I will start in a few seconds. So hi everyone and welcome to this info session about the SDG Action Manager. Before we start, allow me to give you some housekeeping rules. You know that this session will be recorded, is recorded. You will have a Q&A session at the end. If you have any technical issue, please use the chat, and do know that the presentation and the recording will be shared afterwards. So I'm Eglantine Eckhout and I'm in charge of the partnership with B-Lab Benelux and the Shift. I'm very excited to be here today and even more about the huge amount of interest for this session. Thank you very much for joining us today. As you already know, the Shift and B-Lab Benelux made an agreement. Following this agreement, we committed to be the point of contact for information and support to explore the opportunities on the market to help advance the B Corp movement and to support the existing community in Belgium. So do not hesitate to contact us, to contact me for any question. Today, we will deep dive in the SDG Action Manager, built on the same platform as the Business Action Manager tool used and made by B-Lab to assess your impact and get the B Corp certification. The SDG Action Manager helps business take action on the SDG through 2030, enabling meaningful business action on the SDGs through self-assessment and benchmarking. But we will have soon much more detail and testimonial with our two speakers. So first, yes, so that's the agenda. So first we will have Neila Benamara, SDG Program Manager at B-Lab Europe, and she will introduce us the SDG Action Manager. And then we will have Alain van den Abel from Skies, and he will share with us his experience using the SDG Action Manager. And then you will have a Q&A session where you can ask all your questions. Please use the button for ask your question. Neila, I stop sharing my screen and let you.
Thank you, Eglantine, and hi everyone. So as Eglantine said, my name is Neila Benamara, and I'm very excited to be with you today. I'm currently based in Amsterdam because this is where the headquarters for our B-Lab Europe organization are located. But it feels nice to be traveling, at least virtually, to Belgium to speak with you today, which is not so far from Amsterdam in a way. So thank you for your interest and for being so many of you today. It's very exciting and encouraging to see that so many individuals and companies are looking to improve their impact and make themselves more sustainable in a sense. So being here, I guess you're already familiar with what are the Sustainable Development Goals, and you already have some motivation to know how you can contribute further. So I will not emphasize so much on some of the communication we do usually to encourage and to make business understand that they have a role to play in contributing to the Sustainable Development Goals. But if you have any questions linked to this, do not hesitate to ask it in the Q&A and we can cover it at the end of the session. So what I will suggest to do is to present to you something actionable and solution-oriented right away, which is the SDG Action Manager, one of the new tools that we have co-developed with the UN Global Compacts. And in order to do that, so I will start sharing my screen here. So what you can see here is just a kind reminder of a vision that our movement, the B Corp movement, and B-Lab, the organization that is managing this movement of companies that are indeed B Corp certified, as some of you may already know what is a B Corp, but also other companies that may not be certified but are still parts of a movement because they also measure and try to improve their impacts. whether it's about companies, individuals, or other organizations. And what we all have in common is really that vision that we try to build an inclusive, equitable, and regenerative economy for all the people and the planet. And all the actions that B-Lab and the movement are doing is really meant to really make this vision happen. This is our dream, to change the economic system so that instead of creating issues, we would use all the potential of the economic system to solve societal challenges and to have that vision come true. So thank you again for being here, because by just attending this webinar, it means that you already show some interest in also making this type of vision happen. So very grateful for your time and energy in doing that. So if I was talking about indeed being already solution oriented and going right into a topic. So as Eglantine mentioned, we have indeed two different tools, two solutions that we have built and provide for companies so that they can indeed measure the impact and improve the impact that they have on society. The first one is a B impact assessment, and that can lead also to the B Corp certification. And the second one is a tool that we have co-developed with the UN Global Compact and launched last year, that is called the SDG Action Manager. And the SDG Action Manager helps to use the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN framework to really understand how this institutional language would translate into business language, business words and actions, and make it more visible on understanding your contribution to those goals, but also to get inspired to find other new actions and ways to improve your impacts. So the SDG Action Manager is a free tool that is available online, and some of you may actually already have checked it out, but maybe, who knows? And if you have any questions about it, please do not hesitate to ask it in the QA for the Q&A session. But I will also provide an overview of it. So this tool was, as I said, launched last year, and the main objective is really to fill a gap that we noticed in 2018, that there were more and more companies that were interested in the Sustainable Development Goals, that included the SDGs into their communication reports. They were trying to take action to improve their contribution, but only few of the companies that were surveyed were actually including the SDGs into their business strategy directly, or defining KPIs and for advancing the progress on those SDGs. So upon that observation, we thought that maybe there was a resource that was missing in that broad SDG resource-related landscape that could help potentially, hopefully, companies to take actionable measures to really improve their impact. And this is how the SDG Action Manager was born, in order to fill that gap and to try to help and catalyze more SDG contribution from the private sector, but also more collaboration between the private sector and other stakeholders together. Because even if government are really accountable for the SDGs, it's also a matter of each one of us playing a role in achieving those goals. This tool was also built with many multi-stakeholder experts, and it was already, the tool itself is the result of the SDG number 17, which is the tool, the SDG around partnerships. So we're really glad that this was made possible, that is now available for free and for anyone to use. And we had up until now already more than 16,000 users that have registered since the launch of the tool. So again, very encouraged by all the interest, the growing interest that there is around those topics. The tool itself is really as a combination of that partnership with the UN Global Compact. So we try to mix and merge together our strengths. So the expertise and methodology that we had within B-Lab to help companies assess their impact, but also the content and also the methodology that was existing from the UNGC side based on the 10 principles of the UN Global Compact and the 17 SDGs. As I said, the tool is really a result of a collaboration. So you can see here just a few of those that really helped us in making this tool happen, whether it's about the GRI or the Board Benchmarking Alliance, whose database is being used to make recommendation within the tool, the SDG priority, SDG based on the sector, the UNDP, the IMP, but also the founding partners to which we are also very grateful, because thanks to them, this could also happen. And we are able today to provide this tool for free, for really making sure that as many companies as possible could take action towards the SDGs. The tool was built around 3 main key principles. The first one was really to try to recognize, because it's something that we noticed was really complicated when a company was trying to contribute to the SDGs, that since they are all have been defined in a very interconnected way, as they represent the type of issues and challenges that we're trying to face are also all interconnected, it's not always easy to understand how exactly we can make an impact, a positive impact, and how this can have consequences on other SDGs or other elements. So that's why this tool was made, to recognize that interconnectedness. And in the tool itself, you can see when you answer a question, you can also see the other SDGs that are linked to that question, so that you can see how they are all really related to each other, and recognizing that interdependence of the living world in which we are living at the moment. The second principle is to create focus. The tool was built to help companies to focus their efforts on certain SDGs that were the most relevant based on their approach, whether it's about the business model or the theory, the principles, or the impact that the company choose to have on society. So the tool is helping to recommend certain SDGs based on your sector, but also for you to assess and better understand your contribution, and to choose with also maybe other assessments and some support, the SDGs that you want to really contribute to. And the last aspect is that the tool is showing equally positive and negative impact, because we consider that the positive impact that we can have on society cannot compensate for the negative impact we may also have. If we want to truly and effectively contribute to the SDGs, both have to be considered. And this takes the shape in the tool as what we call a risk assessment for the negative impact. So you can identify all the measures for you to improve your positive impact, but also assess a risk of negative impact that may hinder the impact, that positive impact you may have, and that can help you to have a really comprehensive vision of your impacts. The tool has some functionalities such as a score that you can see on the reports of the tool, and then can help you to understand your relative contribution to the SDGs. There is no verification process. The tool is totally confidential, and it's an internal tool, so you can use it the way you want. It's really for you just to have something, again, very operational that you can use to know how to organize yourself and improve your impacts. There are also some tailored questions based on the size of your company, your geographical position, or your sector. It also has, for those of you that may already potentially use the other tool that we have to manage your impact, the BIA, the B Impact Assessment, just know that there is a direct link. So when you answer the question in one tool, then it's automatically duplicated in the other one. It's the same platform, just 2 different interfaces. And 42% of the questions, around 42% of the questions are coming from the BIA. And of course, the tool also includes tracking dashboards so that you can also not just understand your impact, but also define goals for you to improve your impact and track it a long time, so that you can see if you've truly achieved your objectives. Especially because I think we do not emphasize this enough, and the more we say it, the better. But impact is really not the objective in itself. It's really a mindset, a continuous improvement mindset. Once you start considering your impact on all the other stakeholders, it's being embedded in your decision making, and every new decision you will make will always take those into consideration, and you will always have ways for you to improve your impact on society, to add more and more value. This is a long, continuous journey that hopefully can be fulfilling, but we will learn from Alain also how it feels like from the company side to start considering and understand holistically the role of a company in society. In terms of key features on the tool itself, well, you can indeed start to learn more about the SDGs when you start registering on the tool. You create your profile and then you access the tool. You will have to first fill in what we call the baseline, which is a first module that helps you to understand really the mindset in which you can contribute to the SDGs, and to be kind of in short introduction of around the 30 questions, depending on the company profile. And then after you've completed that baseline, you will access all the other SDG models within the tool. You will notice that there are only 16 models, not 17, because the number 17, the partnership for the goal, is being considered to be implemented in all actions that we're doing. We consider this as really a way of thinking more than a goal in itself, that everything that a company or any of us do would need or be infused with that mindset of partnerships for the goals, because we all have that common objective. We're all cooperating for that vision. And then in the tool itself, you will be able to understand your impacts, which is also something that I emphasize a lot. So you will, many of the testimonials that I receive and feedback that I receive of the individuals using the tool is that it helps them to understand their contribution that they may not be aware of already, because sometimes the SDGs are more often associated to international development and not so much for every country. But again, I like to emphasize that the SDGs have been built in a very collaborative way, including almost 1 million stakeholders in total in all the different processes, but built for all different types of countries, independently of the development states, but also for any type of organization. So it's not just about international development, and it's not just about your business model, which is great if your company is already having an impact business model. But just know also by using the tool, you will learn how you're also contributing and making an impact, whether positive or negative, throughout your internal operations, but also your supply chain or any type of collective actions you may be involved in. It's really everything, any activity that your company is engaged in has an impact on society, and then you can measure and improve the contribution that you have towards the SDGs. And then, of course, using the tool, you can also involve your other colleagues because this is a holistic perspective. So it, of course, requires many different views, and it's a collaborative process. And then set goals again and take action and improve your impacts, which is, you would have understood, the main objective of the tool itself. Just showing a little glimpse into the tool. If one of you wants a live demo, I can do it. Maybe I didn't include it in the presentation, but I'm happy to present it if it's one of the questions. Otherwise, I put here in the presentation a link for a quick demo, and I highly encourage you to go into the tool directly also to make your own opinion. But what you can see in those different screenshots is that in the dashboards is actually very similar to the BIA for those, again, that are using it already, because it's the same platform. You can also see the different models of the SDGs. You will have, when you open the tool and then you complete the baseline, some SDGs that will be recommended to you. It's just a suggestion and a way for you to guide you in your SDG prioritization step. And those suggestions are being made based on the World Benchmarking Alliance database using your sector, basically. So it's a good way to start understanding how you can prioritize, but I also emphasize and encourage you to take into consideration also what your company values are and what is the impact you want to leave on society. So of course, if you try to also answer the other models that may not be recommended based on your sector, you will see that the questions are also being tailored based on your company profile, and could also give you more insights on how you could or not contribute to it. And then the last screenshot that you can see is the goal setting, which looks like what it looks like when you actually take action into improving your impact and you define what exactly you want to implement. Here I'm taking an example just on the content itself to show you what it could look like if you talk, for example, about the supply chain. There has been some reports from the UNGC that are explaining that only few companies, very still few companies, are actually taking ambitious action enough in setting their goals, and only 10% of the survey companies last year from the survey in the UN Global Compact were declaring involving their suppliers in their approach to better develop sustainable developments. Whereas supply chain is actually one of key important facts, because the company value chain from end to end is one of the key scope that we recommend to take into account when trying to improve your impact, because again, we're all interconnected, and having a holistic approach is always the best way to tackle those challenges. And here, so you can see various examples of how throughout their supply chain, you could indeed have and improve your impact, and how it's related to very different SDGs. So if you take, for example, the first question about the risk assessment and mapping, and how you can assess the traceability of your supply chain, you can see that it's linked to number 1 for poverty, if you check the traceability in terms of workers, and zero hunger, and the number 8, of course, for economic development, but also the number 14, life below water, which is sometimes underestimated, and mostly related also on how we track plastic usage within our value chain and supply chain. If I take the example number 4 on gender development, you can see that even throughout your supply chain, you could contribute to the SDG number 5, depending on how you promote gender empowerment in your supply chain, or how much you're sourcing yourself from women-owned SMEs, for example, all along the different steps of your supply chain. So those are examples just to give you a glimpse of the different ideas and elements that you could find within the tool, and how taking a supply chain perspective, for example, not just within the company, but the whole supply chain, you could also improve your impact in many different ways. And if you're also very keen, one of the most popular function in the tool itself, if you're keen to understand also how you're contributing as compared to other companies, we have also within the tool a benchmark functionality that helping you to compare your results to other companies from the same country, or from companies from the same sector worldwide, or companies from the same size range worldwide. So again, this score is a relative score, and that depends a lot on your context. But here it will help you to give you its more substance, and to understand if you maybe could get motivated to contribute even more, or maybe you're actually doing more that is already done in your country, for example, and you could lead others and inspire others in doing even better. So this is a way for you to better understand how you're doing today. And again, if you have any questions about anything that I'm saying, do not hesitate, because we will have time for questions at the end, of course. So in summary, what I've been presenting about the tool itself was really that what I want you to live with, that the SDG Action Manager is a tool to define your internal SDG roadmap. Since, as I said, we all have a role to play in contributing to the SDGs, and it's a self-assessment tool. So the data is not verified, but it's up for you to have something that is actionable to improve your impacts. It's also taking a very pragmatic approach. We're really trying to get the companies to understand how to take that systemic approach that may not be so easy to take all the time. And I highly also encourage, because it's only one step in your journey, to use it. It's a tool, but there are so many other ways and other steps necessary in that journey to understand the approach, to engage your collaborators, to engage your top management, to really use it as just one step and not just the end goal itself. The tool was created to be useful, as hopefully, and to create the necessary change and impact to help companies to transform themselves and improve further their impacts. But there are also, I have put it also as well, and the end, many other links for reporting or for other steps, necessary steps in the SDG journey that you can also use in that, again, beautiful journey. And we remind often that it's a decade of action. So we have no time to lose. We have a lot of resources that are available today. And the momentum, especially here in Europe, is growing more and more with the different stakeholders that are starting to understand as well the role that each one of us can play in improving society. So let's seize that moment and take action. And as a way to actually start taking action, which you may already be doing today, I would like to propose to a small poll for you. that I'm gonna have now showing. And in the poll, the question is about one of the questions that you can find in the SDG Action Manager in the baseline model itself. So now you should be able to see it on the screen. And the question is, does your company do any of the following to incorporate social and environmental performance, including human rights in its decision making? So you can select multiple choice. Of course, you may do more than just one of the action. And we will wait just for a few seconds for you to read this question and start answering, as a way for you to already during this webinar, already without waiting for us to stop talking, measure your impact and understand what does it mean to take an integrated approach in considering sustainable developments. And after this session, then we will, after my presentation right now, we will hear something even more concrete than a theoretical presentation, which I hope did bring some insightful elements for you on how to use the tool. But to make it even more concrete for you, we will have a company testimonial so that you can see what it looks like for a real case. So I'm going to wait just a few more seconds, as around a third of you here have answered already, and it's going fast now. So just waiting for a few seconds before we reveal the results.
When we are waiting, do you think it's relevant to already a response to one of the questions?
Oh, yes, sure.
So I'm not sure if everyone have access, so maybe to read before. As to the benchmark, how is it being updated? Do you ask company to report the assessment and realization? How does that work?
For the benchmark, it's automatic. So we do not, you don't need to do anything supplementary than just using the tool. And then based on the database within the tool, it will already give you the results of the benchmark. So it just needs to take into account that since the data is not verified, it's relative and it's up to each company to answer the best way that they can. And since the data is not shared, as a confidential anyway, there is no incentive for a company not to answer honestly to the assessment itself. But that's just something to take into account when considering the results. So it's just everything is automatized compared to what other companies, all the 15,000+ companies using the tool have answered. This is how you would get the results of a benchmark.
Thanks, Nela. I see that many other questions arrived, but I suggest to respond to them during the Q&A session after.
Sure.
And I think that the poll.
Then if we stop the poll right now, and now we will check the results. So we see that there is a high number of you that already have a written mission statements that include an explicit commitment to positive social or environmental impact, which is very encouraging. It's almost more than half of all of those that have answered already. But we can see as well that many of you are doing either also have dedicated staff, like 40% of those that have answered, that you already have also training and processes to integrate in your business strategy, which is highly encouraging, and again, encouraging more and more of you to go forward in taking that type of approach. But only very few of you have executive compensation that it's tied to their company's social and environmental performance, which indeed it's not something that is so widespread at the moment, but that hopefully can give you inspiration on how you can go forward and improve further your impacts. And then also quite a number of you, a third of those answered, also includes thank you. Include as well the board of directors that oversees a company's CSR performance at least annually. So hopefully by answering the questions here, I can see that there is already a great maturity in terms of sustainability in all of you attending here. And hopefully then having those elements that we're sharing today will help you to go further and to find inspiration to improve further your impact. And for those that may not be as mature in terms of sustainability, to at least get started and understand what are the different steps that you could start with to integrate sustainability. So and now what I would suggest is to leave the floor to Alain, which is waiting here for us. And we are very glad to have him with us today. He kindly accepted our offer to come and share all the energy that he's using on a daily basis to make skies more sustainable. And I was particularly very curious to learn more about how in the aviation and the air traffic control where we could actually integrate the SDG. So I'm really happy that we have Alain sharing his testimonial today. Welcome, Alain.
Alain, you're still on mute.
Did we lose Alain? Please bear with us. We're trying our best despite the technical issues. I see Alain moving around again. Maybe just for a small anecdote, the maquette that you can see behind him apparently is a real radar. That's what he told me, but is existing in real life.
We can in between just respond to the Q&A. So there is one, Naila, three for you actually. So is there any difference between the BIA and SDG Action Manager, or they have the same logic and way of assessing?
Good question. In order to answer that question, I actually would suggest to show you a slide that would be easier. I think visually it helps. So if you just bear with me, I will show it right now. The difference between the SDG Action Manager and the BIA is that they're actually two very complementary tools, but just taking different perspectives to impacts. The BIA has been created to be filled comprehensively, so entirely, compared to the SDG Action Manager that is meant to be filled only for the priority SDGs you would have identified if you wish to, because you can also complete it entirely, of course, if you want to. And the data in the BIA is verified if you wish to get certified, and the SDG Action Manager, it's not verified. And in the BIA, you're really taking into consideration the governance as the center of all the actions and the different stakeholders, as compared to the SDG Action Manager, where you take an SDG framework as a guideline. So again, two of them are complementary, because the SDG Action Manager can help you to go deeper in specific topics, as compared to the BIA that helps you to have a more comprehensive vision about all your governance model itself, and to set the structure right for sustainable actions that you would take. So I recommend to use both together in order to make sure that the actions that you are doing are ambitious enough and sustainable over time. And now I can see that we have Alain back.
Are you listening to me now? Yes, okay, sorry.
No worries.
I have the duplication possibility. You see me twice, but only one of the two is working. Hopefully I have two PC in my office. Okay, sorry for this delay. I'm Alain van den Abel. I'm working for Skies, and my contribution today to the SDG Action Manager is being a testimonial concerning the CSR path we launched a few years ago. I initiated once, and now I'm the sponsor of this program, as we have now a CSR program manager. Next slide, please. Thank you. What is, I will explain you the path we follow up to now to consider the SDGs as very important for us. SKIES is an autonomous public company. It has been created by the law of March 91. This law has also created, for example, Belgacom Proximus and the Post. I mean, they created and they moved these companies into a special status, providing them more autonomy. And the Royal Decree of 98 created the SKIES. SKYS is an autonomous public company responsible for the air traffic safety in Belgium. And the company tries always to optimize the cost, the punctuality, because you as passenger are interested by the punctuality, by increasing the capacity so that we offer more and more travel. And of course, we are trying now to be as sustainable as possible. Next slide, please. The company is composed of about 900 people. You will see there, and is established. The headquarters is here at the airport, Brussels National Airport, close to in Stenokozel, where we have a tower to control the Brussels airport, and we have also 5 other towers in Belgium, plus 2 radar. One of 2 is indeed rotating normally behind me. For the moment, it's not behind me, it's in front of me, because I changed the position. If we can have the future, we are looking to systematically improve our operations, and we have a dream. The dream is to be sustainable, of course, but not only, because we have a motto. It's the fact that we want to bring the most safe, sustainable, and unique experience to every single airspace user. And to reach that goal, we try to work on 3 pillars. The customers, of course, the people, because employees are very important, and also we want to build a future-proof company. And of course, future-proof company means also sustainable for sure. What are our actions in terms of sustainability? In fact, as I explained, we are responsible for air traffic control. It means that we are not an airline company, but we are providing guidance and safety to those airlines company, so that our indirect environmental impact concerning the CO2 emissions and also the noise, it's a bit further, please, has to be systematically supervised, so that we try to diminish them. One possible manner to reach that goal is certainly the continuous descent operation. It's a mean to land without making systematically stop at certain altitude, so that with this mean of landing, you use less CO2, and also you produce less noise. It's very important also for the inhabitants that noise is diminished. We also have tried to implement as possible routes, shortest route as possible, sorry, in order to reduce the miles overflow and of course the CO2. We also try to use the airspace as flexible as possible, because as I mentioned, SKYS is responsible for the civil airspace. We are also working in close cooperation with our military colleagues. They are also established here in the center, so that the cooperation is closer than ever. And we try to use the airspace as much as possible to optimize the path. Of course, that's not all. We are also informing the local communities. If you are looking on a site like batc.be, you see what we provide as information to be as transparent as possible. And of course, we support the development of wind energy in Belgium. We regularly evaluate our algorithm so that we can improve the way we authorize, we provide authorization to have a new windmills and to have a windmills farm. That's the operation themselves. And then, of course, we also have a strong corporate social responsibility strategy and roadmap, because we have the ambition to be recognized as one of the best in-class European INSP in sustainability by 2025. INSP means Air Navigation Service Provider. It's a bit further. And our commitment is, of course, we want to provide safe, continuous, and efficient air navigation services, but we want also integrate sustainability in our day-to-day activities. We want also to be able to count on the engagement of our employee, because an employee which is engaged certainly will reach the goals of the company. And also we try to create shared value with our stakeholders and with the community, and I provide you a few examples of them. Now, setting the sustainability scene in 2018, it was decided to have a strong CSR strategy and path. So to build a strong strategy and path, we also need to build on solid rocks. And we saw that the Sustainable Development Goals would be the framework in which we can build the future, because they are worldwide recognized, and it's very important that we can also compare and have references. You know that maybe you don't know, but air traffic control is rules, but by a lot of directive, regulation, ruling. And that's very important that we can use something as a reference, and the Sustainable Development Goals were, and indeed, the lighthouse we would like to use in the future. So we put on the strategy, we develop our strategy by benchmarking with other air navigation service providers. We also internally hold a lot of individual interviews and organize a lot of workshops to gather as much information as possibility, and it really derives a materiality matrix from all these interviews. Of course, later on, we align our CSR strategy with the SKY's strategy and mission. It was essential. And at least we put a governance structure in place, and thanks to this governance structure, we hired a project manager to lead the CSR program, and to be able to build and to reach the goals we would like to have in 2025. And at least we had sorted out the SDGs, and 6 of them were considered as the one on which we have to build the future, and we were of very importance for us. Then, of course, we begin to develop some actions, and SDG Action Manager came out. And this tool was very interesting, because we had the possibility to make a sort of cross-check between our goals, the SDG you just saw, and what we had really implemented, bearing in mind that the program began in 2018, that the first stage were established in 2019, because as a public company, we have to follow strict rules, and especially the market has been defined by law, and we have to follow those markets. So it took a certain time, but also the time was a needed time and a useful time to put in place what we have to do. And the next slide, please. The lessons learned we had from this SDG manager is that the surprise was that sometimes we saw we were very good in some material, and the SDG manager provided other figures, like, for example, the SDG 16, which is a strong institution. As a public company, we have strong institution, and we believe in. And also we have a lot of rules to be sure that we respect the rules, and we try to be as just as possible, because justice is also one of the part of the SDG. And we came to the conclusion that the percentage we reached was not that good. How was it possible? And in fact, we saw that due to, or thanks to the fact that the country is already provided a lot of laws and royal decrees, we are already protected by law against a lot of action which can impeding to us to be strong and to be in alignment with the justice. So that was interesting to see that also we are very careful to be always work always according to the law. The percentage was not that high, but there is a good reason, and indeed, according to the company you are and the context in which you're operating, the results might be surprising. But the goal is also to see that in a relative figures, and you can always improve. So that the figures you reach is not necessarily a bad figures, even if it is low. That's one of the lessons we learned. And indeed, reaching 100% is almost impossible. A second thing we learned is that the action manager, the SDG Action Manager, learned us that sometimes we discover questions we never asked before, and those questions was really interesting because we have to certainly to take them on board, and maybe some of them will help us to complete our roadmap. So it's an inspiring source for some action we didn't ask before. Third point is that the SDG Action Manager provides a better understanding of the SDGs, because there are 17, and for the SDG Manager 16 SDG, you have 169 possible sub-SDG. So it's not always obvious to read all of them and to see how they cope with your organization. Via this tool, indeed, you have a better understanding of the SDG, and you can also better master them. And then, last but not least, at the opposite of the first bullet is the last bullet. Sometimes we had very good results concerning the SDG results of the SDG Action Manager. Also, the SDG concern were not really high in the rank in the list you saw before. But in fact, we noticed that it was the case for SDG 3 and 13, meaning the good health and well-being and climate action. So it's not surprising, because of course everybody consider. I would say that it's a good thing, because it means that everybody between during those internal meetings and workshops consider that well-being and climate action were part of our DNA. And so they ranking them very low because it was obvious that they have to be done. And also that's something important we discovered.
And Anna, I know we talked about it, so I make it feel spontaneous when it's actually not so much, but it's fine. Since you're talking about that specific aspect, I would like to just make a break and actually give the opportunity to the people that are listening to us today to also understand what concretely you are talking about. So we have prepared a poll for you, another one, based on the question, one of the questions that is in SDG number 3, linked to healthcare benefits. And now you can see it appearing in your screen. So we want just to help you to experience filling a question in the tool and understanding what Alain is talking about right now. One of the aspects that SKYS is contributing to SDG number 3 in a great way linked to healthcare benefits, and how this is actually also contributing to the SDGs. And this is also a testimonial that we heard a lot about other companies that when they would build their maturity assessment, they would have certain SDGs that will be prioritized, but then when they would fill the tool, they would realize that they're actually contributing sometimes even more on other SDGs because of the way the values of the companies are implemented, or the way the company is set up, or just organically how it's got created. And that helps really people to understand that there are so many different ways to contribute to the SDGs and to improve its impacts. So that help them to diversify their actions, improvement actions. So I can see many of you now answering. We have already half of you that voted already. So I'm gonna just wait a few more seconds to wait for a little bit more, and then we will share results. And Alain, maybe you can just explain very quickly how SKYS is contributing on this specific question.
Yeah, you mean the poll you just sent?
Yes, so the question is, does your company provide any of the following to support additional healthcare for your company's own employees?
And indeed, as I said, the plan was done in 19, and everybody knows what happened in 20 with the pandemic. And during that time, also SKYS put very soon a lot of stress concerning the fact that people are working alone at home, sorry. And we initiated very soon a program to support them, also via interviews, contact, and at the meantime, we also put an employee assistance program, which is available for everybody to have support. Concerning the food also, we are very careful of the quality of the food we provide, also of the waste, because it's not maybe part of the well-being, but the waste we produce is also monitored, and we try to have a link between the good food and the waste, so that we mixed maybe two SDG, but it's the evidence that the SDG have not to be taken alone, but they are also mixed. Concerning the mental health of employee, we consider also that very important, and so we have a lot of psychosocial support possible. And also I have to say that I am the chairman of the prevention committee, so the link between the executive committee, the SDGs, and the good health of people is very linked together in the company.
Thank you, Alain, for showing the example about every measure that are really inspiring that you have implemented within SKYS to indeed ensure that all the employees would have access to a good quality healthcare, because that's really the objective of that SDG number 3. I can see on the results that all of you have generously shared and contributed to the poll. That a major part of you, almost 60% of the people that answered, are promoting already healthcare among your employees in very different way by providing nutrition or healthy lifestyle habits, which is great, very encouraging, and congratulations for already contributing in a way. Maybe you didn't know that these specific actions you were taking were contributing to that SDG, and I hope it helps also to understand all the other ways that you can also contribute to it. And I also stress a lot about mental health, which is very important, especially in those times. We now really realize even more how important it is for us in terms of not just in performance in the company, but to survive those difficult times that we're living at the moment. And we can see here that 35% of those that have answered already provide mental health coverage for employees, and those that do not, then here is an idea, if you're looking to improve your contribution on that specific SDG, that you could implement to provide and to advance further that SDG number 3. Thank you for allowing that to happen, and then I'm leaving it up to Alain as well to finish his sharing his testimonial.
Thank you, Naila. To conclude, indeed, probably we have to highlight the key success factor when using the SDG Action Manager. The first one is to be well prepared, because running the tool takes time, but it's a very fruitful exercise. So it takes time, but you have to plan correctly your resource and effort. Don't think that you can do that in 1/2 an hour and that's it. No, plan your time. The second one is that the SDG Action Manager is planning all the activities of the company. It means that you are not able to answer all the questions, certainly not, And sometimes maybe you will be prone to answer too fast, too quick. So be helped. Don't hesitate to run this tool with colleagues exercising multiple functions in the company so that you have a broad scope of capacities in the company. And last but not least, it may be a truism, but it's really needed that top management buy-in is essential and vital for reaching the goal. I thank you all of them. Sorry for this short interruption at the beginning, but thanks for listening to me, and have a good day.
Thank you very much, Alain. Thank you very much, Neila. We have some question. I know, Alain, that you have to close at time, but so
yeah, okay.
To leave if you have to leave early. But I suggest to start with the Q&A. So please, for the participants, do not hesitate to put your question in the Q&A tools. So the first question is how is the data being updated? How do you assure confidentiality? That's for Neila, I guess.
Yes, in terms of technicality of the database itself, if you want to know which server operator we're using, I have to admit I do not know, but I highly invite you to check the data privacy policy that is available on the tool on our website. And then you will see all the different elements and safeguards that we're implementing to ensure the confidentiality of the data.
Thank you. Another question, is there a certificate or attestation of that?
Is it the certificate of using the tool or for the data? I'm not exactly sure to understand.
Another question for another person. So I guess it's just if you use the results, I guess it's that.
Maybe, well, as I stressed about the tool itself, the data is not verified, so you would not receive a certificate from using the tool itself, but it's really just a way for you to better understand your impact, and you're, of course, encouraged to share what you learned using the tool, just as much as Alain is doing today, and to use it to feed into reports or other processes. But no, there is no certification of completion, for example, at the end of the tool.
And another question, for your perspective, how should a small company prepare to use the SDG Action Manager and not fail in the attempts? For example, have meetings to align priorities.
I don't know if Alain wants to share his testimonial of using the tool within Skies.
No, no, I can't answer because we are looking for the moment concerning the use of EcoVadis. So I would like to maybe to ask also the person who has the question his experience about EcoVadis. So I can make the link between the two.
So Alain is interested in Colette's question and Colette's experience indeed. And if I just answer to the other question, I guess it would really depend. If you don't have dedicated resources, indeed, it's not always easy to address those aspects. But as much as you integrate it into the everyday life of your business and try to not be too ambitious right away, but just to start with awareness and understanding from the actions you're already doing, how it's already linked to the SDGs, that could be a good step-to-step progress. And then the more you will grow as a company, if you are meant to grow, the more you will be able to implement further measures. But I would just say go step by step and start with what you're already doing to understand how it's linked to the SDGs before you can look on additional information and improvement you can make further.
And a last question, is it possible to find in the SDG Action Manager some benchmark showing the area in which the company are taking most of the actions? I have realized that many companies are willing to start their sustainable paths, but they are not very clear on how to do it.
That's a very good question, Juan. It could be not in the tool itself. We could think about it in a future involvement of a tool, but also in maybe an insight piece report that we may publish at some point about the learning from the tool. That is something that we could consider integrate. So thank you for raising that question, and we'll take that into account.
So it's perfect timing. It's 2 and we don't have more questions. I just would like to invite all the participants to test, to connect. I put the link in the chat. So have a look to the SDG Action Manager. And for those who don't know the BIA, the Business Impact Assessments, have a look. It's very inspiring. It's give you guidance. It's help you it's a very nice holistic approach to assess your impacts. I would like to really thank Neyla and Alain for your participation and for having organized this session with me. I will send the presentation and the recording, so please do not hesitate to contact us if you have any question about Sky, for Neyla, or for